Hello everyone, Ari here. We are back with another live stream today. How are you guys doing? How is everyone doing? Who is here and ready for the stream? This is an exciting one. I do have a gentleman, Mr. Ernest Makolilo. He's going to tell us about his experience. He is Tanzanian but left Tanzania way back and has been living in America for a very long time, and he is loving it. If you guys are tired of America, this gentleman, he's happy, he's loving it. So let me know who is here. We shall start a conversation in a minute or two. Hi, Liz. Thank you so much for joining. How are you? Yeah, I think we are like a few minutes late. This should have begun at 5 p.m. exactly, if Eastern time, which is like 1 a.m. East African time. But we are still here. So if you join the stream, I make sure you do give it a thumbs up. If you are not subscribed, I make sure you do subscribe. And we shall start the conversation in a few minutes. Hello, XP. How are you? Thank you so much for joining the stream. How is Germany? How is your day? How is everything? Guys, make sure when you join the stream, you give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to the stream or new to the channel, make sure that you subscribe as well. I always do live streams, and this channel is about sharing as Africans on the continent, Africans in the diaspora, whoever is moving back and forth. We do share our experiences on this channel. So I do host people all the time, and we do the streams all the time. So that's what we are about on this channel. So I'm going to add the gentleman on the stream, and then we shall begin the conversation. Make sure you do subscribe if you're not subscribed, and also make sure you let me know where you're joining from. I would like to know who is here. And yes, let's begin the conversation. Hello, Mr. Makolilo.
Yes. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good too. Thank you so much for inviting me to your YouTube channel.
How is your evening?
It has been good so far. Yeah, I'm thankful.
Okay, that's nice. So kindly introduce yourself and then we begin the discussion.
Yes. So my name is Ernest Boniface Makulilo, and I usually go by my abbreviation of EBM because sometimes it's a long name. I was born, raised in Tanzania, and I've been studied up to bachelor degree. Then I moved back here in America. So I've been here since 2008. So for 12 and a half years, going to 13 years now.
Wow. Since 2008, you've been in America?
Yes.
Studying, you came as a student? You went as a student?
I came under special scholarship to teach. Is to teach Swahili language. There is one program which takes people from all over the world, and government program to teach their languages in African, just world culture here in America. So people from Russia, Nigeria, Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, whatever. So that is how it is. So I came under the Fulbright program. So I was in US, they call you professor, regardless of whatever level of education. So I was university professor for one academic year, for 2 semesters. Then from there, I moved to become a student.
To become a?
International student, because I came as what we call exchange scholar. Then from exchange scholar, so it's a different type of visa, it's called J1 visa. So I moved it to F1. Then from F1 to green card, from green card to US citizenship.
So you said you came to teach, so meaning you had already had a job when you came, so?
No. It's a program which you can apply even you're about to finish university. So it's not necessarily you must, they need people who are already graduating, but if you're in the final year, you can apply that program too. So for me, I applied while I was in the final year. So the day I was finalizing my final exam, I already knew for sure which university I'll be going to teach, the contract, the ticket, everything. Yeah.
So meaning when you came to America, you had a job, right? Everything was settled. You
Yes.
never beat around the bush and things like
No,
that.
I came direct is to come to teach. Obviously, I was doing also the general labor to get extra more money, but basically I came from day one as an exchange visitor to teach at the university, which is called the Marshall University in West Virginia.
Oh, okay, great. Because I mean, you came in a good way. I mean, that's what I wanted to make clear.
Yes.
I like people who just come to beat around the bush. Okay, so you coming to America, were you looking for greener pastures? You know, if you came to teach, did you think I'm going to get a better job in America? Was that the intention underneath?
That's a very good question because before I knew anything around the world, in 1994, 1995, I was in fifth, sixth grade back in my hometown in Kigoma. I made the decision that I will go and live in America for the rest of my life. So I was just like, I don't know, 14, 15 years old, I think at that time. So, and there was no internet. TV was just very limited in many few places. So I didn't have the mindset at that time I make the decision that I'm going to America greener pass. I didn't know what is greener pass, but for me, it was to go in America, get married there, have the life there, die in America. So that was the original plan.
So you said you were a child when you had that plan or that dream.
1994, yeah.
So yes, so as a child, did you see any Americans that you admired? Did you hear that America was a beautiful country?
Yes.
What made you
So
want that as a child? Yet there was no internet. I mean,
that
what
is a very good
prompted
question. In the first chapter of my book, I explain why I made that decision. And I put the chapter one is called The Decision in year 1994. There are three things happened in around that time, which made my decision why I want to come to America. Number one was in 1994, around that time, we had what we call 1993, 1994, there was a Burundi war, and then there was Rwanda war. But in my hometown in Kigoma, we are bordering Rwanda and Burundi. So all refugees came to my hometown. So that's number one. So the impact of in the impact of seeing the refugees and United Nations and all big organizations in my home country at that age made me want to work with the United Nations, and the headquarters is in the US. So that was number one official. Okay, I can be able to work at highest level with this organization at the headquarters. So America came into number one. Number two was at that particular time, we had a medical doctor, and that medical doctor got married to someone from Asian country. But at that small age, remember Tanzania used to be a socialist country, or ujamaa na kujitegemea, just some sort of socialism. So it's very rare to have at that back in the time we are getting out of socialism. So there are very few internet and all other kind of things or exposure. So we didn't see much of the difference between Caucasian, Asian. Obviously, we know Chinese, but there was a difference if someone comes from Philippines, for instance, or from Indonesia, to distinguish with Caucasian. So the guy came as a medical doctor after studying, I don't know which country. So he was inspired because he's a doctor and he was married to someone of different race. So every child was, also it's okay to get married to someone from other culture. So from that moment, I said I will marry a white person. But where are you going to get them? So the best way to get them, go where they live. So that was the starting point. And another thing which happened around that time, obviously, it was the inspiration from my brothers who were studying, graduating from the law degrees. So all those kind of things, they influenced me to study things related to humanitarian or law in particular, and be able to help others at the global level, but mostly to live in America. But people, they consider that is a childhood dream because childish in general, because how do you manage to get all those opportunity to come here? So for me, I knew I do not know anybody in America or in Europe. So my goal was I have to go there through education. So I had it from the beginning. Since the primary school, I know the only way will get me out is education.
Wow, interesting. So you made those decisions when you're a child, but you know, when you grow later in life, sometimes you get to realize life differently because of different experiences. So how come you never got a change in mind, even as an adult?
Yes, a few things. Number one was for me is I have a tendency. If I say my goal and someone say it is impossible, no matter what, you have to accomplish it just to prove you that you are wrong. That's number one for me. So every kid I was telling, oh, my plan is this way. Oh, you are not a child of politician, or you're not a child of a rich person. How are you going to accomplish it that way? So that way gave me the drive to prove everyone wrong. So I was consistent. All my friends say, this is the dream I'm going to accomplish. And they have to tell you how I'm going to accomplish. So that when it happens, don't say, oh, it's because maybe of the relatives or because of so and so. So for me, even while I was in primary school, going to secondary school, that was my dream. And I had to stick on some of those one. For instance, if you are planning to get married to someone from another country, obviously you have to find a way to go to those countries. So for instance, from high school to college, until the college, I didn't date any person. Not because I was, it is difficult, but it was a distraction for me, because if this is my main goal, and if I start dating someone, I might see New York is Dar es Salaam. And because when you are in love, sometimes you don't think it's straight. So, and I didn't want to lose anything. So any possible distraction, I had to block it out. That was how I do. So for me, it's just like, if you tell, even like now, say, to write 500 books is impossible. I'll tell you it is possible, and I can start writing. If you tell me it is difficult to run maybe 500 kilometers, I can start learning, and I can just be able to do that to prove someone is wrong. So that is how I roll in my life. So if you want me to accomplish something, tell me that is very, very easy. So why should I waste my energy for something which is easy?
Okay, I love the spirit. So I do understand that maybe you wanted to prove your relatives, or your friends wrong, that if they told you, oh, maybe you don't come from a good family, so your parents are not politicians, they can't send you to America for education. Yes, you did prove them wrong. But even as an adult, having made that decision and come to America, did the reality meet your dreams? You moving from being a scholar teaching Swahili to being an international student. I'm assuming a student, you're not working, maybe you are of a certain age. Did it meet your dreams? What were your challenges as a foreign student?
First of all, that is a very good question, because when you are talking about the challenges, majority of people, they do certain mistakes. Number one mistake why you come to regret is not being sure why you decide to go to another country. So there are some people, usually I tell them, after arriving at the port of entry, if you arrive in Chicago, in New York, whether in Las Vegas, the first you are arriving at that airport, we teach them that is the air conditioning, which takes out your dream. So write down what do you want to accomplish in that particular country. That means you never forget them and stick with them. Because in America, it's very easy to be distracted. Time is very, very fast. Things going so quickly. It is very easy to get distracted. But for me, because I came here from day one and I knew the embassy did a mistake to give me the visa, I come here. The day you take me out here, you put me in the grave. That was my mentality when I come here. So I prepared my mindset. Any challenge I'm going to encounter, yes, there are some you get upset, but most of them I already played in my mind that this is part of life. But for someone, I'm giving an example, there are some people, they might come here and maybe you miss pilau or certain type of rice. You might, oh man, I miss the rice. Like, really, I'm in America and the rice making me miss Tanzania. There are so many, but so for me, I came with the mindset like, yes, this is the new life. These are the challenges. And I have to encounter any challenge, I'm going to get it. So there are a few challenges. The biggest challenge, which is already here, is how to move from this general type of labor to go to be a professional at highest level. That is a challenge, not only just for me, even for Americans themselves. How are you going to become a director of organization? How are you going to become a supervisor in organization? There are so many challenges, and those challenges they don't matter, or they don't care whether you are a citizen of that particular country or outside. So I came with the mindset like, in order to come here and exceed in these kind of challenges, how or what do you need to do? So there are various things. For instance, number one, I have to go all the way to become a citizen. I don't want to end up, because Tanzania doesn't have dual citizenship. Uganda, it's easy. You can say, oh, I want to become a citizen. But Tanzania, you have to make a decision. Do you want to become a citizen of the United States or not? If you become a citizen of the US, you forget your citizenship. So this decision.
Wow.
So for me, I didn't even think about like you are comparing.
So you gave up your Tanzanian citizenship for your American citizenship.
Okay, let me give you an example. You are told play for Uganda national team or play for Real Madrid. I'm going to play for Real Madrid, obviously. I know each country have benefits, good and bad. But for me, because my dream is to be here, number one, to be a US citizen will help me. I can give you an example. One time, I got a job to go to teach Swahili in German for the US base, because the US have bases around the world. And the AFRICOM, the headquarters is in German. But everything was going well until when they saw I gave the documents, I'm permanent resident, not a US citizen. They said, we cannot take you to give the contract. The contract was flying with the first class to German, teach there per month. I was given $12,000 per month. But the contract has to end just because I'm Tanzanian still. So there are certain opportunities you might not get them just because I'm Tanzanian. And I have a philosophy that God told to go to the world and conquer the world, do everything in the world, make the world the better place. That's go and multiply. God didn't say go to Tanzania or go to Uganda. To be in Tanzania, to be in Uganda, to be in America, to be born is because your parents are there at the time you were born. But it doesn't mean that you have to stay there. You can move to another country. If life is wherever you didn't meet your expectation, you can go back. You can go to any country as long as you follow the regulations. So for me, yes, there are challenges, but the biggest one is to transform from the normal, this labor, whatever, to become professional. You can apply so many jobs, and it's competition. You are not alone. America has over 330 million people.
Wow, interesting. So your belief is you don't necessarily feel attached to Tanzania because you're born there. You're more of a citizen of the world, right? Wherever I feel you are, that's where you belong, from what I understand.
Yes.
Okay.
And
so
God, God is going to judge me as a human being of this world, not, oh, why didn't you help Tanzanians? So if I put a scholarship here and someone from Ghana is saying, oh, how can I apply and I help it with a resume? I do a good thing to a human being. I don't necessarily to confine myself to help Tanzanians. Even when Jesus came, was having a mission to help the Jews, but they beat him and they didn't whatever. So he said, okay, I can give this food to the rest of the world. So you don't need to confine yourself just to because you were born there. No.
So what? So you as a Tanzanian, you don't feel any special responsibility towards you, you just feel responsibility towards people as a general, not a nation, not a country.
Yes, because if you do a wrong to any person, God doesn't go, like, for instance, someone is maybe in the snow, doesn't have shoes. If you don't help that person, it will be the same way if we don't help Tanzanians. So I'm in America, so I have to help Americans. But if I can do something online, I can help any other person, yes. And sometimes Jesus said, even sometimes the prophets are not recognized in their own home. You don't get that respect. Even like, I give an example, how many people, for instance, who are Tanzanians, I can put information in their hands and they don't use it. So I remember I made even the book, Swahili book, but you find like for over 2 years, free book, just maybe 100 people are reading it. But other people who are downloading from other countries are more. So for me, I don't have any obligation just specific for Tanzanians, but I feel bad for any person, especially from developing countries, any person wants to achieve certain dream, and I'm in position to guide that person, and I don't do that. That's why if someone is sending me an email and I don't respond to that email, I feel bad, because at one point I was that guy who was looking for someone in America or in Europe, just email, how are you doing, to have a friend. And if those people don't respond, I felt so bad. Why? Is because you're in America. So for me, I don't want to confine myself just for Tanzanians. There are so many people here in America, they need support. There are so many people in Europe, they even walk barefoot, they are white people. So my job is just to support, and in any way I can help any person, no matter where they are. That would be a good thing for me.
Wow, interesting. So you said as a child, you were inspired because you saw some people working with the UN and you wanted to work with the UN at the headquarter level. You also
Yes.
saw a certain doctor, right, who also
Yes.
inspired you as a child. So
Yes.
did you pursue that dream to work with the UN at a certain level, or where did you take that when you finally came to America?
Yes. So first of all, I had the opportunity while I was a student. I worked as intern for United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, UNHCR, in my hometown. They gave me the opportunity after finishing, after graduating, if I can work with them. It was a good opportunity, but the dream was also bigger to go to America. But I knew at the time it's difficult to come to America right away, so I knew more opportunities also for Europe. So my supervisor, with the spirit she saw, she's from Netherlands, she gave me also more information about Netherlands, the country she's coming from. So when I decided to come here, so but here in the United States, UN is different thing than how we see UN in Africa. Yes, you can get the job in UN. Again, UN headquarters is in New York, and in the reality, I cannot live in New York. So that is another thing. No, I don't know how much salary will give me to be able to move to New York, because that lifestyle,
Why?
because it is just like, is extremely, the Manhattan alone is over 12 million people live in a very tiny city, small area. So you have to live out of town, either New Jersey or very far away, and you'll be in subway, all those kind of things. It's good to go to visit, but I'm a laid-back person, so I'm preferring to live like in like countryside life. So New York is not my lifestyle. I don't like even in Tanzania to live in the typical capital city and just the traffic. You just like, is another unnecessary stress. And I want my brain to work properly, so to be able to be calm.
Wow, interesting. So for someone watching you right now, you
Yes.
know, they are seeing someone who says, I left my home country, and yes, we know all know that Africa has problem, and some people feel a certain responsibility towards them because they are leaving Americans are leaving America, let's say the African Americans going to Africa because they're trying to think Africa needs some help, they want to help, they want to create this impact in Africa. They, of some of them or majority of them are trying to find a connection, they're trying to find their roots. But then we also have you who says, yes, I was born in Africa. I know the African problems. I even saw the Rwanda genocide. I saw those refugees, I saw the UN coming to help us. But I realized that that place is not for me. I don't want to be there. I dream of being in another country. I'm a citizen of the world. So what do
Yes.
you have to say to that person? Because I'm thinking like right now they must be judging you in a certain way.
No, because number one is this way. Uh, I have no hard feeling or any problem. Each person has their different dreams. I don't say my dreams are bigger or better than your dreams or someone else's dream. And there are some people, they want to go to a particular country. I'm giving an example. Let's say there are some people, even myself here in America, I want to live in a smaller state and even to go to the village. But there are some people, they want to go to New York. I don't like New York. There are some people, their dreams to be in New York. So we have different kind of dreams. And I'm not in Africa, but it doesn't mean that I don't care about things going on in Africa. That's why I respond to so many things. And if you look at my channel, is how to help immigrants to be able to succeed. Whether you are in Africa, you want to go to another country, whether to come to study here and to go back to do, as long as you are going to be positive and help another person. And whenever I go to, for instance, even in Tanzania, I go to Kenya, I go to Uganda for my job, I usually go and talk with youth, like university students, like even how you can be able to start your own business. What are things you need to do? So it doesn't matter. All we need to have the same dream. Even my family, they don't like to live in America, for instance, or to Europe. They study there, they are professors, they have their own good life, but each person has a different dream. But it's not that my dreams are better. Even to live in America, sometimes it's very stressful than living in Africa. But if for myself, I look for the bigger picture. What do I really want? If I go to visit in Africa, I'm enjoying, I'm so much happy than if I'm here sometimes, because sometimes you are stress-free sometimes when you're in Africa. But if I look overall, bigger picture, what do I want to accomplish? What do I want my kids to do? What I want to do, everything. Personal, here is the better place, which is aligning with my goals and my objectives. Let me give the example. For instance, let me give you the example. My schedule, I do the following things. I work full-time. is director for one of the organization. I write books full time, 2 to 3 books per year. I do videos, like 800 videos per year. I go comments and do other things, and I talk to other people. So all those kind of things, if I want to live in Africa, it will be difficult, some of those things to accomplish them. Because after work, sometimes the electricity is not there, or you come there is so much traffic, or there are so many other factors. So for me, like, this is my lifestyle, is more aligning with this one. I don't, but personal, that's why even if you look at the corner over there, I usually put my flag, like Tanzania, and I teach my kids about Africa. And I was planning to go, not to live forever, I was planning to move to Tanzania, to go to work there for at least 3 to 5 years, then come back. But because of the difficulties of getting work permits, so it didn't work through the plan. But I don't plan to live in Africa forever. I can go there and live for 3, 4 years, yes. But to live my entire life, no. My entire life, my goals and everything is aligned here. And I encourage people to go, and if they want to live in Africa, Americans, it is a very good experience for them. They will enjoy a lot, most of them. But sometimes it's very stressful depending on what is your goal you want to attain in there. Don't go to Africa that I'm going to save Africans. Go to Africa and work with them as partners, because those people are smart. They are more educated than you in America. Just because you are white or you are black, you are speaking good English, doesn't mean that means you are smarter than those people. No. Just go there and work with them as partners. Okay, what do you want to do? Those people, let's drive everything and be there to give any guidance, any support. It is good you come from an angle, you can have more opportunities and they see all those kind of things. I'm giving myself, if I was in Tanzania, I'm giving example, finish a bachelor degree, what are my options? What are the opportunities I'm going to get? But here right now, I can decide, okay, 2022 election, I want to run to become a governor. I have more options. I can be able to execute them without any particular problem. But in Africa, sometimes, where is my family coming from? There are so many other things which will be as a backlash. Here, if I want to become a diplomat, I can become a diplomat. All the opportunities are there. I can be able to apply and get them without any particular problem. So that's why I enjoy to be here.
Wow, that's very interesting. So from what I learned from you, you don't have to be in Africa to help Africans or to help Africa, right? It doesn't matter. Yeah, I think that's the main important point. Mr. True, thank you so much for the super chat. I do appreciate you for supporting me and the live stream. So my next question is, because I understand you do have a family, your dream as a child was to marry a Caucasian person and maybe experience a different culture. So how is it like raising kids with a culture that is completely different from your culture? How do you manage to blend the two? Do you think they are more Tanzanian? Are they more American? Is it a concern for you as a parent? Tell us about that, balancing the two cultures when you come together as a family.
Number one, no matter how you want your kids to be, whether even if you are in Kampala or you are in Dar es Salaam, you raise the kids, Western culture is going to dominate at the moment. It doesn't matter where you are. The Western culture is the dominant culture in the world right now. So you make sure that the kids get good education. No matter how we are raised, like if you do something, you get beaten and all other kind of crazy things happen. But that is the time of that particular time, like when you are growing up. But doesn't mean the same way how we were told by your parents or your teachers, getting sick in school, they just use bad words to you. That lifestyle has changed because of the child rights and the awareness and so many other things. So that's number one. There are so many good teachings we have from Africa, and there are so many good teachings from American culture. So we are taking both the good things in American culture and the good things in African culture. It's not a war which one should be a dominant, but overall most should be American because they live in America. Let me give you a simple example. In Tanzania, for instance, and in many African countries, when you have a child who is a girl or a boy, the name will be very clear. My name is Ernest Boniface Makulilo. Boniface is the first name of my father, and Makulilo is the surname. So all the children, whether you are a boy or a girl, your middle name is Boniface Makulilo, and last name is Makulilo. Full stop. There is no any other thing. But in America, that's why they call it a given name. You can give any name you want, the first and the middle name, and last name, it will be a surname. That's number one. Secondly, a girl will have a girl's name as the middle name. So because we live here, I cannot force him to say, Prayer Ernest Makulilo. What's wrong with you? So there are certain things you have to agree with the norm of the area. So that's why even my kids, the middle name, first of all, for the female, they have a female name. So for instance, it's Claire Francisca Makulilo. Then Faustina, Marie, and then last name. And the name, I can choose any name I want. It's not supposed to be any family name related. Benedict, the middle name is Fulbright. After Fulbright scholarship, which I got it. So it depends, first of all, that's like the culture-wise, you have to agree on certain things. But when it comes to the teaching, as I said, you are looking for the better things for both, but still you have to modify what will be the better way on how you can be able to blend the two. Yes, there are some challenges sometimes. One of the things which I make sure that I do when there are kids, I talk to them mostly in Swahili on my end, so that they can be able to know even a few words in Swahili. So when you call your relatives, they can say few words in Swahili, they can understand. While they are little, they can understand 100%. The more they grow up, they start losing because maybe you don't have a lot of talking to other people in school. You are so many hours they don't spend with you. So that is something else. For the food-wise, we cook most of the food, both American and African food. And at my home, I'm the main person who's cooking at our house. So 95% of the food at our house, I'm the one who's cooking. I not cook all American food because I also went to school for chef school. So I'm qualified as a chef. So I know everything to do everything. So I do, and I incorporate the kids, like washing dishes, cleaning, whatever, everything like both in Africa and here to make sure that way. And we have a lot of things. And no matter what my experiences in Africa, I don't tell, like I can give any like, oh, African corruption or politics is whatever. But when I'm talking to my kids, I usually, everything has to be positive about Africa. I don't give anything like, okay, why am I here? Is it like a bad thing? No, I came here because it's my dream to be here. But for them, I expose them in African life a lot. So for them, like, even like if they can sing songs about the flag, they know the colors, they know all of those kind of things. I wanted for them to have that impact. Because if they don't have also my background, at the end they can have identity crisis. So I want to give them, yes, they have here opportunity to learn everything the best from American culture and let them get the best from my background. So if you combine the best and the best, the kids can be able to excel. So that is advantage. And possibly when they are in high school or they're in college, I want for them to do exchange program to go to study in another country, especially in Africa. Not necessarily to be in Tanzania, or down the road they want to become Peace Corps, they have to go and learn something from other countries. So yes, there are those kind of challenges, but obviously I know the Western culture will be the dominant culture, and I have no problem with that at all.
Wow. Your ideas are completely different from most people, because most people be like, we prefer the African culture. We should preserve our African culture, because it's fading out. So if we don't try to protect it, who's going to, to be there for it? I think that's why we have this whole wave movement going on, because people in America is trying to come to Africa, to learn about where they came from and the culture. Yeah. But for you, I do understand when you say it's not necessarily that the African culture has to, the Western culture. Let's pick the best out of both cultures and find a balance. Yeah. I believe when you're a family person, then that works the best. I mean,
because it's not a competition. For instance, now I have to force them to speak my tribal language. Where are they going to use it? I mean, Swahili is not a tribal language; it's a national language. So I started teaching the tribal language. Like, I'm not a defender of my real African culture. I mean, in Tanzania, we wear a tie. I mean, I don't wear the clothing like a Maasai. My culture, my tribe, they don't wear that way. So we are still Western in one way or another. So yes, I understand we can do that. Yes, I understand African American most of them, they want to go to learn about Africa. Part of it is identity, because they were not exposed to that identity. Where are they from? I know, I don't need to know like my name, what does that mean? Well, I'm giving example or something. I was born there. I know everything about Africa. I will take the good things from Africa and give to my kids. But not everything about Africa have to impact to them. No, I'm not going to do that. There are certain things like, why even do we do that? Like, if you look like yourself, why? I mean, yes, it worked for me to I mean, for instance, like being beaten, I'm very thankful for my parents to beat me. I'm very thankful for my teacher to beat me because it made me smart. It made me to make good choices. I agree with that. That was good culture back in the day. But even now, you cannot do that to your child in Africa, especially in urban areas. So, but because it's our roots, should we do that? No. Because back in the day, you can go, your child, you go and buy a cigarette, and they light the cigarette, and they bring to you. Should you do now? No. So there are certain things like they're out of context. Why should we do them? Let them go away.
It depends. It depends, because I think you might not beat a child, but you also need to discipline a child.
There are different ways of disciplining a child.
Yes, there are different ways of disciplining a child. So I'm not totally against, all our African culture ways, because for me, my personal view is when kids become very Western, in my opinion, I don't think I would raise up my kids like in America or in such a kind of environment. When kids become very Western, they lose morals. I feel like in Africa we still have morals, but when they become very Western, they tend to lose their morals. They tend to.
Let me explain to you on that.
I can't articulate it well, but there is something about that. So when it comes to disciplining kids, then it has to be strict.
If you are in Africa, the problem is this way. There are some people, they think they are teaching them the Western values because they do not know what are the Western values. You have never been to America. So spoiling a child, people are thinking they are Western values. You see the problem? Spoiling a child, that like a child can come there and just even jump to you and kick you in your face. Oh, is a baby? No. There are some strict rules. They are still there. Western culture doesn't mean they're spoiling. Even here, the kids have discipline and their kids don't have discipline. In Africa, the kids have discipline, there are some who don't have discipline. So, but that doesn't mean that Westernization is that. I'm giving an example. You are Christian, right? The Christian values of how to raise a child, it doesn't matter whether you're in Africa, whether you're in Europe, whether you're in Arabic countries, it will be the same. If you're looking for the good things, even in the Bible, even in Quran, they say you have to discipline your child. Back in the day, even now, for instance, if let's say you give a punishment, a child, let's say, has opportunity to watch a TV, opportunity to use tablet, those kind of things. But if a child, back in our time, you are told don't go to play with your friends, was a very big punishment because it is outdoor culture. But at the same time, the child take out the electronic, all electronic for one day is a bigger punishment than the one we were beaten back in their time. So it depends. Still, the kids can have time out. They can have so many punishments. But if you do the beating like we are doing to our kids, we are doing to us, you are going to be in prison. So whatever you think that is the African culture, you beat a child, is going to have the social security, social services are there, back in the prison. So there are certain things, yes, you can discipline a child. My kids have very good discipline. They have respect, but I have a way on how I can be able to discipline them. And if I tell you stop, they stop. They know. I can do that.
Yes, but I think that's the best thing.
Yeah.
I think that's the best thing to do, as long as you find a way of disciplining kids. Exactly. But just my personal opinion, we always think that kids who grow up in the West do not have morals. And it's not necessarily about us being beaten or whatever, because that also has its side effects when you're growing up as a child. But we tend to think that when the kids become too Western or too modern, they'll feel too confident, they will start like embarrassing you in public. I mean,
no, they don't do that. They can question why is that.
I do agree with you. It comes back to the parents, how you discipline your kids. Yeah, I do agree with you. I would like to look at some comments.
Okay.
Guys, thank you so much for joining the stream. I see Zulu Lessons with Thando. I see Dalton, XP, Mr. Truth, Liz. Thanks, guys. Let me read some few comments. So XP says, I think he has a realistic way of thinking. There is so much you can learn from other cultures. So it's very good to blend the cultures. I do agree with you. It doesn't necessarily have to be like one culture competing against the other, I do agree with you. And then Zulu Lesson says, it is important to know who you are first as a person before you have children. Even
Exactly.
if you go to the West, you won't change your values just because you are in the West.
Exactly.
Of course, you won't. Um, and then Zuluson says, I disagree. I have so many friends in the West. Their kids are so well behaved, some even better than here in Southern Africa.
I agree too.
Okay. I mean, so here is the thing. I'm not
Though,
saying
don't
Western
spoil
kids
the
do not
child.
have more.
Don't spoil the
I'm not
child.
saying they do not have morals, but I'm saying the way we perceive it here in Africa is if you raise your kids with a Western thing, okay, we associate immorality with the West in Africa. For the most part, we associate immorality with the West. So
Do
if you
you know
want to
why?
raise your kids like, pardon?
Do you know why? I can give you the reason.
Okay, let me
In
finish.
Africa,
So,
we don't want
uh,
to take responsibility of our negatives. We blame everything to the West. Even you don't have a job, Westerners. Why Africa is poor up to now? Because of Western they colonized. They colonized in 1950s. How does that relate for you to put it? For instance, Tanzania have announced they are going to block all the. You are not allowed to use WhatsApp video call or a call until you pay. How does that relate to the white person? Like, so everything we are going to block is like, we don't want to take, okay, yes, I agree, there are certain things Westerners have caused, but there are so many bad things is on our own, but we tend to have a problem. It's just, whoa, these morals are Western. But who, if your child is stealing and you don't punish your child, even here they punish you. But the problem is just, let's take our responsibility when we are wrong.
yes, I do agree with you. I do agree with you. When it comes to Africa, I do agree that for the most part, Africans have failed themselves because we can't keep blaming the Westerners to a certain extent. But it's 100 years, 200 years, 300 years. Come on, it's not
Like,
like
yeah,
they have
like
a chain
one
on their
doesn't go
necks
to,
anymore.
you fail to compete in the Olympic, because of the Westerners. Really? Like, who told you not to eat good ugali and start running over there in the street?
So
Yeah.
let me ask you something.
Okay.
If there is a young person out there, because we came to America 2008, maybe
Yes.
it was, I don't know if I should say it wasn't as competitive, but the world has shifted or the world has changed. So if someone is young, they are 18, they are 20, they want to leave their country, and the dream is to go to America and stay in America, and live the American dream or the American life. You having lived, I'm assuming you're living the American dream and experienced it, the challenges, the positives. What words would you tell to that person?
Yeah, that is a very good question, because there are two ways. There is someone coming in the US as a young person and someone coming as already in mid-career experience. Those are two different ways. I can give two different advice. If it's a brand new person, 100% come here. 100%. Don't even question yourself. One, for various reasons. Whether you come here, you stay for 2, 4, 5 years, and you go back to your home country, it will be better for you. I can give some of the examples. What are the advantages? That's why I'm telling even what are the advantages of someone to come even for scholarships. You can be able to learn other culture in practice. Not is this to hear like, okay, like I'm giving an example. While you're in Africa, sometimes you can, the respect you give to a boss or to a supervisor is higher because it's just too much. But here, when you live the real life here, your boss, supervisor, whatever is becoming a normal person. Yes, there is a respect, but you cannot give that too much respect. Like completely, this is just another god. So that's number one. Two, you can get experience of working in another country. So not necessarily to come to America. Even if you go to South Africa, you go to Egypt, you go to another country, you get experience of living the culture and get a work experience in another country. So even if you go back to your home country, you have advantage. I can give the good example. Let's say someone is in Tanzania, started to become architecture, or someone in Uganda has never lived out of Uganda. So the experience come from Masaka, go to Uganda, Kampala, to the university, and then after that you architecture, designing houses. All major houses, they are designed by Africans. They are very good design from outside, but most of them, they are so bad inside. Why? because those people studying architecture, they have never lived in those houses, so they see house from outside. So with the experience of Africa, you see all the nice gate, good roof and everything. That's beautiful. But inside, how is the kitchen look like? The kitchen is like a store somewhere hiding, and you wonder why your husband cannot help you to cook. So there are so many things you need to know. But for me, because someone lives in these countries, you can be in this different designing from inside. I can design a better house for many people because I've been this kind of. So by living in other country, you can learn about that, or to see the value of human rights. For instance, things like, I'm giving example, if you're designing the building, to know what they putting the access to the people with a disability. You will see that concept can come that way because you know the rights of the people with a disability. But if you are born in all the buildings you have been in Kampala or in Dar es Salaam or in Nairobi, they're almost similar, and you don't have that experience. You can design a design without even thinking about people with a disability. How can the person go through these tall buildings? So by going to other countries, it gives you another perspective of thinking other things. So there is that advantage. So, but if you want to decide to live forever in that country or not, it has to come deep down to you. What is the end goal you want to accomplish? Sometimes you might come in this country, you might have the intention of staying forever, but because of the experience, you say, no, I have to go back. Or at a certain point of your life, I have accomplished everything. Let me go to my home country. Or sometimes, but you can be able to get, work so hard, get good money, and go and invest in your country. It's still a very good thing. So someone who is brand new, you have nothing to lose. For me, I was coming here, I was having just a bag. I don't have a girlfriend. I don't have, my entire life was in the bag after finishing university, getting to the plane, come here. So I have no baggage in my head or my hand. But if, let's say, right now, let's say I'm in Africa, I already have a house, I already have a very good job, things have settled. Yes, to make that decision, should I go and live forever in America? That is a tough decision because you have so many things to lose. So you have to compare in another way. Should I just go get the experience, come back? But if you're brand new, just go ahead, explore the world.
Yes, I do agree with you. And I also think that even this relates to like a country, an economy. The fastest way to grow an economy is when you open it to outsiders and you let in people with different experiences, different thoughts, and they all blend in together. So absolutely, because we tend to think, we know it all, but like we've been stuck in one country and we actually don't know what's in the other places.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Okay. So let me ask you something, maybe a little bit sensitive. So when you grow up in Africa, it's we grow up, we are all Black people who won't face any racial segregation. Let me use the word. So what was your experience coming to America back in the day? Did that affect you in any way? Did you already have your guards up? You're like, you know what, I'm here no matter what. I've made my decision and I'm done. Tell me about one of those.
That is a very good, yeah. I have different opinion from many people. That's me. Number one.
We need your opinion.
Yeah, my opinion and experience. Number one is this way. Racism is there. We don't want to say it's not there. Let's start with that one. Racism is there. But how you perceive it, each person is perceived different. There are certain things you can see you as, this is a racist item. For me, it might not be. So I don't want to say that what you experience, that is not racism. Each person has definition of what is racism, what is not racism. But let me go with the mindset of Black people, all Black people around the world. Majority of us, we have a problem of not understanding what is racism. We assume racism is anything a white person is doing to a Black person. We forget, even you go to the actual definition for what is racism under the United Nations, a Black person can discriminate a white person. A Black person can discriminate another Black person. And I will come to those kind of areas. So let me start how I grew up and how I prepared mentally when I was coming to America. Number one, in Africa, your generation might be different from me. I'm not too old, but back in my time, your parents can beat you, your teacher can beat you, the neighbor can beat you, and they can tell you you are a monkey, you are so-and-so, all the bad words, they tell you and they beat you, they give you high discipline. That was normal when I was growing up. So let me ask you a question. What difference does it make If my teacher tell you are a monkey and slap me, and a white person says I'm a monkey, what is the difference? It's the same word.
No, it's not the
That's
same.
right. But the problem is we put a blanket that anything because a white person has said will be that way. I cannot use that word to my son, even if your son is a black person. Don't use that word. It doesn't matter. So, but the problem is black people, we pick and choose. In Africa, I did my dissertation on albino killings in Africa, but I specified in Tanzania. Albinos in Africa. Why? Because of their skin color. But tell me which country in Africa they have specifically said it's part of racism. That's why I said it's witchcraft and racism. We believe these people are different because of their skin color. We treat them badly, not just like Martin Luther King back in the time. We wanted to sit on the bus or something like that. We kill them and sell their body parts. That is Africa. But we don't call it racism.
But that's not racism. That's something different.
Racism because you assume it's anything a white person is doing to a black person. But if a black person does to that person...
No, that's not racism.
Let me give an example.
They do that because they think they have special powers. They have powers for healing. They have powers to give you riches. But that's not racism.
Even white people, those who are racist, believe that in black people you are less human being. So I don't care about your belief. The actual thing is what you are doing. If it's wrong, is wrong. Most of the racist people, they don't have the clue that what they're doing is racist. Some they do not do. Some they know. So it doesn't matter whether, for instance, I can give you an example. Cavani, who is a soccer player, now playing for Manchester United, he scored a goal. His friend, who is from Uruguay also, made a comment on Instagram, and he said, and used the word N, because how they call each other. They're friends. Cavani was suspended 2 games to play for Manchester City. But how many African American, they use the same word to the white person or bad words to the white. But the problem is, I want to go, but it's very difficult for black people to see that way. I can give you an example. I'm married to a white person. Let's say, it didn't happen, but I want to give you a scenario. If I'm taking the white girl to my country and I want to meet my family, and my family, they say, maybe we don't want to marry this person. You don't say your family is racist. You will say my family is not civilized. But if the family of the white woman or white guy, they say no, the first impression, they are racist. We forget that they might have other reservation why they don't want to get married to someone else.
No, so I think there is a difference between racism and maybe being segregative. But let me first ask you, people want to know, what is your definition of racism?
My definition of race is part of the United Nations definition. I can, the word, just one sec, I can give you, but in a very simple way, racism is race, even tribalism, tribe is part of the race, is an identification of a certain group of people. So it can be, I can give you an example. There are certain tribes in Tanzania, for instance, the lighter you become, the more bright price. The darker you become, the less respected. That is racism to me.
Do you know why? No, that's not racism. Let me tell you. White people came to Africa and brainwashed Africans and colonized Africans. When you are a kid in Africa, they teach you that white is better. That's what they're still teaching us in our schools, you know? So they colonized our minds. That's why people are out here, young women, you know, they are bleaching themselves because they think looking light-skinned is better. And the other thing is the word racism came about because of the way white people used to treat black people, because of slave trade, because of, you know, those who went to the Americas, you know, how they enslaved them. That's how racism came about, because they did that just by the color of their skin. That's how racism came about.
But and before white people came, there are albinism in Africa, and they were killed before white people came, because people like me, I'm better than albino.
Yes, it's there, but that's not racism. That's not racism.
That's why, as I said, the problem in Africa, we don't want to. Let me give a few examples to see. I was flying with the Ethiopian airline. I arrived in Ethiopia at the cafe there. I ordered food. It passed over 45 minutes. No one is going to bring my food. And the food was not very complicated. It was just tea and samosa. Not complicated. Hot water, that way. White people are coming nearby me. They are sitting there. They get services. Food is cooked. They give them. I give the benefit of doubt. I was so upset. But that one for me is racism. I left. I was flying to Madagascar. Coming back, I said, let me give the benefit of doubt. I went to the same restaurant. It happened the same way.
And do you know why? Do you know why?
For Africa, the problem in Africa, you say, oh, people are assuming that because these are white people, they have more money. I don't care what you officially. You discriminated me.
Yes, yes. And I want to ask you, do you know why she thinks like that? Do you know why? Because I want to give you the answer.
You can. The point is, yes, you can say like we have been brainwashed that we think white is better than black people.
Exactly.
I don't care what you brainwashed.
The education.
Why the white people have been brainwashed too, that they are better than the black people. So I don't care what reason you have, but you have discriminated me.
Yes, yes.
I went to the restaurant. I stayed there for over almost an hour. No one even come there to say, oh, we want this food. They came 3, 4 white people. They were there. They came like 5, 6 like service people to ask, what do you want to eat, whatever. So I asked the manager, why no one has come to help me? Oh, you know, these people are not Tanzanians, whatever. So we have to give the good impression. So the good thing I have my ego passport. I said, I'm not Tanzanian. I'm American. I'm speaking Swahili. Yes, I'm American. Why now? So the problem is discrimination. But the problem is black people, we don't want to see we are discriminatory because we assume it's cool, we take advantage of them. And the white people, they do the same thing. That's the point of discrimination. So for me, first of all, discrimination, a black person can discriminate a white person can discriminate a black person. That's number one on my end. Then it comes to, I went with my wife to Tanzania. Everywhere you go, everybody's assuming I'm just a tour guide or someone get advantage just from a white person is giving me advantage. I'm the director.
You know why? Those are the effects of colonization. 100 years later, we are still suffering them. Yes.
There is no excuse.
Let me tell you.
What excuse is there? Racism is racism.
Can I make my point? Can I make my point?
Yes.
So the education that we have in Uganda, in Africa, the education that we do have, right from primary school, remember this is a 5-year-old, 8-year-old, 7-year-old. They tell you that white people came and discovered Lake Victoria. It's called Lake Victoria. They came and discovered Queen Elizabeth. They enslaved us. They took us. They came and taught us what they want, right? So right from the start as a child, they have painted for us that white people are better, right? It goes into our thinking that white people are better. So even if I walked into a Ugandan restaurant and I walk in with a white person, they are likely to get more treatment before I get it, right?
Yes.
So if white people hadn't come, we wouldn't have that. And I also want to say that in the African culture, our culture doesn't teach us to be racist or to segregate. They teach us to welcome people. I can speak for my culture.
Teaches racism.
No, they teach us to welcome people.
I understand which church is teaching racism. America, they don't teach racism. They don't.
It's in the institutions. It's institutionalized.
Like
it's in the institutions. There are opportunities that.
Let me give you the example.
Okay, let me finish my point. Yeah. I'm trying to show you what's in Africa and what we are dealing with. And these are things you have to understand, that if the education doesn't change, we shall have the same problems generation after generation after generation. We can make YouTube videos and talk about
it to me.
But if the teachers who are in primary school and secondary schools don't know what to teach our kids, they can't teach us that Africa is good, we should love Africa and love Africans. They teach us that being light-skinned is good, right? If you don't teach those things to 5-year-olds and 10-year-olds, we shall keep having the same problems that Africa has today. Why do you think we have leaders who can't stand up? We have very many leaders who can't stand up as Africans, you know? They are colonization ways, but our economies are still colonized. Why? Mostly, I blame our leaders. Yes. Let me give you an example like Uganda. Uganda has like 80% people above 30 years of age. So a problem like COVID came, right? Uganda got millions and millions of money for the COVID vaccine. But the Ugandan government did not at any point challenge young minds of Ugandans to make a vaccine. But they want to import a vaccine from China. They already brought AstraZeneca, wherever it's coming from, and give it to the people, right? I want to show you the kind of leaders that we have. So when are you going to allow the young people a chance to be empowered and think independently? Because I'm very certain if you challenge young people who are strong, energetic, passionate, they'll give you solutions. They will, but they don't. So some of these problems, yes, I know it comes back to education. Even if I just talk about okay, this is just my opinion. It comes back to education. If our leaders are still want to teach us British ways, because it's a British, they had colonized us. So when they left tools and materials to keep us colonized. So if they don't change that curriculum, to make it African will never think independently, because right from primary school, you don't have that chance to think independently. Maybe you will catch up later, but majority won't. You will never catch up. So the education has to change. So when I hear you saying whites are not, maybe there is no racism or something, you can't say that. Because let me tell you, the things that, maybe this stream might even get demonetized or put down. But the things that Africa has suffered, if I give you an example of Congo, the DRC, the damages that Congo has suffered, even when King Leopold was in Congo, maybe over 50 million Congolese lost their lives. Congo is still unstable because of very many different things that we might not talk about openly. So we can blame the Congolese to a certain extent, but we might also not blame them that much, because if you're born in instability over the time and you do not know the people responsible for that instability, they are there. And the best thing that they do is to fuel these insurgencies, make you fight against the other, make you hate your friend or your neighbor, bring Christianity and Islam and tell you Islam and Islams and Christians, you can't marry each other, you can't be friends, you can't eat at your neighbor's place. So when we can have different ideologies when it comes to here, but I disagree with you for the most part.
Yeah. Okay. There are 2 points you have made overall, which are there is the issue of racism, and there is the issue why Africa is still poor. Those are two things different. Why Africa is still poor, there is the part of colonialism, and the huge percent is the current leaders and what is going to be done into education, into everything. That's why I said here, there is imperialism 2.0, the upgraded, why they find a way that you cannot be able to overcome yourself to this level, and why we are in the same trap. That is explaining this one. But there is the issue of racism. We assume that people, it's politics, institutional racism. I agree with those kind of things. But there are so many things here. It's not about racism. It's the structures which are there. If you want to compete at highest level, these are the principles. Because if you go with that mindset, racism is there, as a black person versus white, then it will come. Then there is this kind of racism when it comes to immigrant. You are going to put it at its advantage. Let me give an example. If you want to become a consular officer, U.S. consular officer, diplomat, or political officer, the principles are very clear. There is an exam. Go and take this exam. If you get 154 score, you go to this interview. If you pass this interview, you become diplomat. That one, how many white are there versus how many black people are there? They are going to do background check. They're going to do certain things. It comes to the credit score. It doesn't matter. These are the numbers. If you go and take a credit card and you do this 1, 2, 3, you'll be broke. And by being broke, you'll never get a good job. You'll never go to good apartment. You'll never go to good house. That is not racism. So if you're telling me, oh, all black people, they're denied to get a house, what is your credit score? Simple and clear. So I understand institutional racism. Myself, I'm not going to date even a person who is broke. So whether I'm racist or whatever, so there are structures. I agree. Let me give an example. In Olympic, the first Olympic, the most recent Olympic, the first time to see a black person is going to swim was the Olympic 2016, a black person. Why? Because we have the mindset that black people cannot swim. But we know black people can swim. So with that mindset, it's not racism. Let me give another example. You go to the Olympic, how many people are taking spears and throw that far are white people? How many Maasai can throw the spear? We know there are so many people in the village that can do that. But we don't do that because we don't have our own way to institutionalize how we can compete at that level. So there are so many problems we want to blame white people. I said the racism is there, but also black people are racist. If a white person is going to spit to a black person, is racist. If a black person is spit on a white person, is racist. There is no, because black people is going to pay back. There's no payback. I've seen soccer players. Douglas Costa is a black Brazilian, spit on a white person. He was not called as a racist. But Luis Suarez, because he's a little bit light skinned, he's not Caucasian, didn't give a hand to a black player ever, was called a racist until he moved it from Barcelona, from Liverpool to Barcelona. But it's just a beef between the two players. But if a white person is doing any move, it's easy to call a white person as a racist. But if a black person is doing the same thing, he's not going to be a racist. But we have a very big high double standard. That's why there are so many people we don't want to take a responsibility on our own. I can give you an example. How many black people, they wear white mask and they play white mask in the screen. But if a white person is wearing a black person and imitates a black person, that person is going to be cancelled in the show, is going to be cancelled because they say you cannot be black, you cannot play black in the TV.
Yes,
but
blackface, yes.
Yeah, but how many black people do that? How many times? How many times Eddie Murphy is wearing white and plays white in the character? So why? That's the problem. Don't play a victim. Don't play a race card all the time. It's a competition. It's capitalism. All things about capitalism.
It's undeniable. The race card is undeniable. It's
no,
there.
I agree. Racism is there. But don't play a race card. Don't play a race card. That's the only thing I want to say.
I'm going to drop you guys a link. I want like an American to give us a perspective here. If any of you guys want, I can't articulate some of these things because I've not experienced, I've not grown up in such an environment like that. But I know that I disagree with most of what you said. But let me drop a link in case any of you guys have something to say.
Mr. Truth has a good comment, which is true.
About it, and then you can.
Let me give something which before someone else.
But from what I see, EBM, for you try to be positive and see maybe the good side and
not
try
the good thing. That's the reality. It's the truth. But that's not the reality. That's not the reality. No, this is the truth. Like I want to put it clear this way. I didn't say racism is not there, but number one, black people are also racist. Racist is action. It doesn't matter who is doing that one.
We can't be racist. Not after we've been through. Okay. That's what someone said earlier.
Can a woman be against another woman when it comes to the women's rights and the empowerment of women? How many women are against women? There are so many. Why don't you say only men are against women, but women cannot be against one another? Most of the time, against of the women are women themselves. The same when it comes to the rest. Black people, sometimes a lot of people who are talking about, Mr. Truth put a very good comment. We are going to focus more energy on race while other people are moving forward. So instead of dealing with the issues, CNN is getting more money on the issue of race. I can give you statistics. How many people are killed by white police? White people by number are killed more than black people. But CNN, CNBC, Fox News, all the major networks cannot say a white person has been killed because it doesn't bring any attention. So when a black person is going to be killed or is going to be apprehended, it's going to be a big deal. I agree.
That's what the statistics say?
That's not the statistics say. That is the number, which is to go and look at the actual numbers.
By the police, by the American police?
By FBI, these are actual numbers. And even if you look at the numbers, everything is there. Apart from that, how many black people are killed by black people in the gang? How many black people are dying because of abortion is a lot. How many black people during the time of George Floyd, the same time, July 3rd, before July 4th, black gang killed 16 people. Among them, 4-year-old were there in Chicago. Even news didn't announce because it's a black case, black situation. When black people doing things to black people, no black life matters. But when a white person touches a black person, the entire world is going crazy. That's why sometimes I see it's crazy. I agree the racism is there.
Because you've touched in the wounds. There is already
No,
a
there's no wound. Even the white life matters. The white people life matters. It doesn't matter. Any person, you have to be accountable. That's why the same way, I don't care if it's about Tanzania. I care about the world. So it's not about the whole life matter. So if a black kid is killed, I will be upset the same way as a white kid killed. I don't care what caused that one. Whether it's a white person caused or a black person caused. We have to be against those kind of injustice, not just injustice when it's done to black person. That is the problem of racism here. It's just like people use as advantage to excel into their agenda. I'm against racism. I'm against racism when a white person is doing to a black person. I'm against when a black person is doing to a white person. I'm against when the Asian is doing to a black person. When black people doing to the Asian. I'm against all form of racism. Mr. Truthy, take charge.
No, I'm not taking charge, but I just want to say that EBM, I mean, you're correct on a lot of stuff that you be talking about. Especially when you're talking about racism. Yes, racism there, but I think the thing that happened that sometimes people focus more on racism than just going about their business and doing what they need to do. Because to be honest with you, as far as when you talk about racism here in the States, like EBM talking about, now they go by credit score. A lot of times people try to talk about the police department being racist and killing blacks, but at the same time, they're not talking about what the blacks doing for them to have to do what they did. Because like I said, a lot of times they don't talk about these people being in the criminal environment, doing criminal activities, and it's just so much different stuff that, lead up to a lot of the different things that happen as far like, dealing with police shooting and stuff. So I think a lot of times, especially nowadays, people take a lot of stuff and take it out of context. Because anything like if somebody white do something, somebody black, it's racism. But when black people do it, it don't make the media coverage. Because like I said, black killing black way more time than what whites doing. And and over here in the States, it's just not about whites. I mean, you got white, you got Mexican, Chinese, Indian, and also while we talk about racism in the States, are black, while everybody else is still getting ahead. So that's why I had to say about that comment.
Okay, there is a question here. EBM, someone is asking, do you think Africans being colonized was their fault because they couldn't defend themselves better against the Europeans?
Not their fault. The leaders they sold, it was business for them. Because when they came, they didn't come and conquer everybody. They come to Chief Mangungo from Soweto. They gave them maybe the mirror. It was not a fair trade, but it was something of value. They gave you this one, give me the land. Or they sold it slavery, you gave the people. So it was an equal trade if you look on the value. It's just like now, I'm giving an example. I can go, let's say, to a girl and just buy a chips and try to sleep with that lady. It's unfair, equal, because I'm the human, but in the end, if you agreed, yeah, that is happening. So I don't say it's the force of African as a whole, but it's the fault of the leaders, because the leaders are the one doing the same thing the current leaders are doing. What are the current leaders are doing right now? What are they doing? They're signing the same contract. Go on the mining contract. Go on the Chadi contract for the oil with the ExxonMobil, whatever that thing. They gave them 150 years of getting the oil. So that is not, it's not about, even now, that's why I say imperialism 2.0. These people, they are so smart. And I say, imperialism has been seen as the highest stage of capitalism. But we are witnessing now the world of upgraded imperialism. Under this upgraded, this one, the game has changed. African countries were hoping to develop sooner after the colonialism. But with this imperialism, Africa is still under new colonialism and will be subject to it in different shapes and forms until the end of the world, unfortunately. This book, Imperialism 2.0, answers the question why Africa will continue to be colonized and continue to be poor for centuries to come. Then the book goes further to provide what Africa should do in order to end all these forms of exploitation.
So what do you think Africans need to do? What is Africa not doing right?
Number one, let's go back. Let's go to the first day of independence. What happened? The chapter 1 says, colonial blueprint. People are thinking that African leaders or those people like Mau Mau, Maji Maji, those kind of crazy things that they really beat white people. No, you cannot beat someone with those machines. What happened was this way. Capitalism forced them to come from Europe to go to Africa. Why? They wanted raw materials. They wanted the markets of the manufactured goods. So it was the material conditions of Europe forced them to go to Africa. So that was number one. But when they were going there, they started fighting themselves one among. When they started fighting themselves, they said, wait a minute, why can't we divide ourselves into the spheres of influence? But what happened was, after getting these colonies, the cost of running colonies was higher. Just let's take the concept of now. If you have the US Embassy in Uganda, how many staff are there? Those staff from America, they'll be given the house, they'll be paid their bills for electricity, gas for cooking, water, security, diplomatic immunity, and almost the salary, full salary. So it's a very high cost. Assume British, how many colonies British has? So many colonies. So it reached a point where the running of the colonies was so expensive. So in capitalism, you must get maximum profit. So the profit they expected is going lower down, they get profit. So they came with a plan. What is the better plan? The plan is to get raw materials, manufactured goods until the end of the world. Let's design a structure. This structure, which I call colonial blueprint, give them these African leaders, give them the lead on our own behalf. So that's why Museveni, Ugo, Kenyatta, everybody is doing the same thing like colonial masters wanted to do, because they are going to use the same colonial education, the same colonial, everything is the same, hasn't changed since 1960s up to today. I can give you an example on that if you want. Now the colonial has changed to China to Africa, because China's late is using different ways. For instance, Kenya went to China and get billions of loans
so
for building railway. But if you go to China and ask the same amount of money to build the industry, they'll never give you. Why? Because that rail doesn't help you anything. Doesn't help anything. But it will give you a debt to China and it will continue to colonize you. They'll give you the loan, which will be able not to provide a competition to them. So they'll never allow you to have industries. So they put in a situation that you continue to be raw materials producer and manufactured goods of their products for a long time.
Yes, I do agree with you. But do you think, because I'm sure our African leaders are aware of this, why haven't they done that? No, I don't think they're that dumb.
Trust me, they're not aware.
I don't think they're that dumb, no. I think some of them just want to stay in power, but Liz had a question for you.
Yes.
Ask EBM if he would get the same way if his wife's family didn't accept him because of his color.
Number one, for me, I didn't accept to marry a black person. I don't like black people. It's just my preference. So let's go down. If I don't want to date a black person, doesn't mean that the black person are less than. I don't want to marry black. Not that I marry a white person because he's a superior. No, it's not that because of that. It's a preference. Just like I want to marry maybe a fellow Muslim, I want to marry a Christian. Doesn't mean that the other one is bad person. No. If my wife's family they didn't want me to get married to them, they might have their own reason. Maybe they have their plan they want someone to be white. Maybe my family, they have expectations. I'll have married my fellow tribal man, tribal person, have the kids of this. They didn't think about one day I'll have the international kids. Maybe the kids will be in America. It's a shock for them too. But they accepted because they want better things for me. So not all the time someone said you don't marry someone, if they say no, it's because of racism. They might have other reason. And I can put one comment. I know I can relate to the issue open to Meghan and the Harry, whatever in England. There are so many bad things happen. But it is stupid to come to say, if they ask the question, how is the colors of the baby? That is the expected question for international child. You are so stupid. Like, if a child is interracial, I have to question. Will be more like a father, more like a mother. Even the black people will ask that question. Like, really? That's racism? Like, oh, yes. Even myself.
I would like you to comment on that before I give my opinion.
Yes, there might be racist. I agree. But on the comment to ask a question about the color of the child, That is the expected question in interracial relationship, because it's just like it will be more look. It's just like assume I'm married to a black person. The question will be: is the person look more like a father or a mother? Why don't we say that is racist? A father is white, a mother is black.
Is that racist? What do you have to say about that comment?
Well, I think EBM, he have a lot of good points. I mean, everything he's saying, I agree with him, because just like you were saying about racism here in the States and stuff, what a lot of people don't talk about, especially if you're born and raised here in the state, we already know what areas that they consider, to be racist, who people say, okay, well, they don't like black, a minority over there. My thing about that, if you hear about an area being racist or a store being, practice racism, why even go there shopping? Why even go in them areas? Then once they go there, then the incident happens, oh, they racist. So my thing about it is, a lot of times when people say racism, they don't look at, you're free to go and do what you need to do, but at the same time, if you already got a warning about something, why go do it? Just like we talk about Meghan Markle. She married into the royal family, knowing that the history about the royal family, how they feel about minority. So I guess she thought she was going to change their thought process. And now because I guess she went through what she went through, now she want the whole world to feel sorry for her. So, we know as adults what we get ourselves into. So a lot of times we don't accept the responsibility for the things that we do.
It's just like people in America and they want to change American culture to follow to be African. Really?
No, that's not the point. That's not the point. So Mr. Truth has just said she already knew how the royal family feels about minorities, right? Meaning they are not accepted. And I watched that interview. Meghan's words were there was a discussion about how the skin is how dark the skin of the baby is going to be. There were concerns about how dark the skin of the baby is going to be. So meaning they do not embrace the baby with his skin color. The baby is not accepted, is not looked. They feel like that's going to be a problem. Okay. So
I agree with that.
So you can't take that out of. That's not even debatable, Mr. Truth.
Other things.
Sorry, that's not even debatable. That's not even debatable. So.
The issue of Meghan, there are two things. We need to note that. There is the issue of racism and all other kind of things, which is a very critical issue. I agree. But let's put ourselves also to the mind of Queen. Because sometimes we talk because we are black. Let's put ourselves in the mind of, you are the president of the United States, or you are the Queen. You are thrown, you want to be going to a foreigner. Think about that. These are countries. It's just like a US person. Even Obama, when he was running, there is a question. He grew up in Indonesia. Is this person Muslim? Is this person going to Madras? All those things came to the being. I want to say, like, there are things which, when you marry another person of another culture, there is the issue. Like, this is a queen. The first time you are going to marry someone from another country, and you are going to possibly become a royal, and possibly become the overall everything. Yes, there are those questions they'll be able to ask, but the way they ask it might be inappropriate because they didn't have that experience. I don't want to defend them. They did so many things wrong, and no matter how Chad is doing, the father of Harry should be a father. No matter the royal family, you cannot stop talking to a child. There are so many things they did wrong, I agree. But overall, there is a big concern because this person is from another country. US versus England is still in a war of imperialistic war. It's just like saying China versus US, like go in China and become a president of China and you're from America. They are still, America is a Cold War. Is it still there? These are imperialistic powers. They are trying to fight no matter what. So yes, but the way how they ask is they didn't have the proper way of asking. They handled it in incorrect way. But there are certain things
that was racist or it wasn't, in your opinion.
My son, if he's going to get, let's give an example first of all. If my son is going to marry Tanzanian or Kenyan, I'll just ask, it's truth. Are you married for the green card or not a green card? Obviously, it's American. That is the concern as a father. Does this person marry you? I understand. So even my parents, the parents of my wife, when they ask that question, I don't take offended because, yes, I don't want them to be at disadvantage. So did you marry this person because he's royal or you really love him? As a parent, you have, those are concerning questions, but the way you bring them to the table might be inappropriate. So there are two things. Like,
so for you, there is no problem with that question, right?
I have no problem, because even myself, I ask the question: will the child be more darker or more white? Myself, I ask
So
about
let
my
me
child
ask you,
before they're born.
in your opinion, do you think she and her children are accepted the way Kate and the elder brother's kids are accepted? Do you think
No,
they embrace them the same,
no.
or do
Number
you
one,
think they
yes,
look at them differently?
yes, there is the issue of
Because
black. No, they are not accepted the same.
exactly.
Number
So
one,
what does that say?
you are outsider, you are American, you are not British. Don't forget that. Number two, what is the status of Kate's father? You get married to a royal or to the general, to somebody. So there is the way of who you got to marry. Just like coming to America, you have to get married to a person of a certain status. Those are the life, people.
It's an issue of color. Don't take it away from what they say.
Yes, there is issue of color. It could be a different story if the Meghan was British, but still is American.
It make a difference.
What if it's a spy? What if it's CIA, Meghan?
Color. Don't they say they were concerned about how dark the baby's skin is going to be, not if the baby has an American mother. Don't take it away from what they said. That's what they said. So it's an issue of color here.
Myself,
anyway,
when my child was born, was too white to the extent I was even sometimes, if I carry around myself, this black guy stole the child. Like those things are there, but my point is the way they asked, was improper. It was a bad way on how they asked. But the question of knowing the color,
can I give you my opinion?
Whether it will be white or black, I have no problem. But the way they ask it might be incorrect way. But the question of asking to know whether it will be more like a father or a mother, more white or more black, I have no problem with that question. But the way you ask it will be a problem.
I think you're just in denial of the reality. That's just my opinion when it comes to this issue. But actually, there is a very huge problem with. But of course, we can all have different opinions, you know. So I think it's very understandable.
Let me give you an example. 50 Cent is a black person, rich person. He dated one white girl. 50 Cent decided not to endorse Joe Biden and endorse Trump based on the tax program. How much percent of Joe Biden tax plan versus Trump? He said, he wrote, I'm not planning to become 20 cent because Joe Biden's tax plan is to go to 60% for people who are richer. The girlfriend, the ex, not the current girl, ex said, as ex-girlfriend, you must vote for your people, all black people, so you have to vote. But no CNN, no any major network, they condemned that speech, that it was racist, that because you are black, you must vote for so and so. The problem I'm saying is when they are not looked the same way because of who is going to put them on the media.
Do you know why she said that? Because white people, the way they've managed to be over us is by dividing us. So you can't be supporting someone who is not your own. Africans or black people need to come together. So we can't be separating. That is the thing. Because they used to, yes, you're the one who has just talked about it. You're telling us about imperialism. How do they do it? By dividing us. They are fueling insurgencies to keep us divided. So black people, if you want to win, you have to come together. So that's what she was trying to mean.
We cannot come together even when there's stupid things. We have to come together on important things. Like we are defending the rights of black people.
That's not a stupid thing. That's not a stupid thing.
Let's say, for instance, we are talking about the right to life. It doesn't matter. It's an inalienable right, whether you are black or you are white. So if a black person kills a black person, it's not a problem. A problem is when he's going to kill by a white person. Wait a minute.
Mr. Truth, I'm wondering why I haven't said anything.
Well, I'm just listening because, like I said, both of y'all get some good points, and just like what EBM talking about. I think the bigger problem with one of the people with African Americans that, well, we always vote. We don't never vote in our own best interest. To be honest with you, I mean, Trump had a lot of good ideas and everything. Black people, we vote we vote against our own best interest because we voted Biden and Harris in office, and so they got elected. They nowhere to be seen, not in the black community. I mean, all thing they talking about now, the LGBT and immigration. So they haven't said pay one policy dealing with minorities. So yeah, I mean, African American, we got a history of always voting against our best interest. So I mean, it's just crazy. And to be honest with you, Ray, let me just say this too. When you're dealing with the African continent, I think one of the bigger problems that y'all have is tribalism. Just like with China. China used to have that same problem, but they got rid of that tribalism because what they found out that when you practice tribalism, it's a form of divide and conquer. Because just like what EBM talking about, it's them leaders and the chiefs that have sold their own people out and they sell the natural resources. Hey, and tell me this, Ray, how many manufacturing plants y'all have that produce guns, that make tanks, any kind of weapons of mass destruction that y'all have on the continent of Africa that you know about?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. So I agree
And see,
with
that's
you.
the biggest problem. See, that's the bigger problem with the continent. Instead of us really trying to get on the level with other nations on, we sit here still worrying about trying to produce tomatoes and growing fruits and vegetables and raise animals instead of trying to do manufacturing. Because they're taking all the natural resources off the continent, sending it back to the foreign countries just to send it back to Africa. But at the same time, the African continent not taking advantage of the raw material that we have on the continent.
That's why I blame the leaders. You know, I always question myself, why do you have Chinese in Uganda mining gold? If a local Ugandan can't mine gold or can't get a license to mine gold, why do you have Chinese mining gold in our country, you know? So some of these things come back to the leaders, you know, people who set up the policies, you know, the MPs that will go vote to go in parliament and make decisions for us.
But
Yeah,
you know,
so
you know
We
what,
have a
Ray?
map here of Belgium, a small country colonizing Congo. How comes a tiny
that's
country
King Leopold.
in a template? There was a plan.
But you know what though, EBM and Ray? Just like the book you got, it always takes one of our own people to sell us out. I mean, they can't do it on their own. They always have one of our people to sell us out. Just like what
Yes.
Akon doing in Sierra Leone.
Yes, I
Akon
agree.
bringing the Chinese in there. They're not coming there just to, I mean, yeah, they're coming there to supposedly help build that Akon city, but at the same time, I guarantee they're gonna be over there looking at the natural resources and what they could benefit from the continent. Because like I said, it's always somebody that look like us that's always helping selling us out to all these foreigners. And the bad thing about it, when we talk about racism, we only talk about white people. We only talk about black and white. Not thinking about the Indian and the Chinese and other nationalities. We only consider white people as being racist. I mean, there's a whole different spectrum in there.
Exactly.
Yes, I do agree with you. And that's why EBM, we're talking about black people stand together. You can't,
I
it
agree.
shouldn't be separated, you know?
For me,
It shouldn't be separated.
I
We have to be
agree
there for each
on
other.
depending on the issues. So if I'm giving an example, if because you are Tanzanian, Tanzania is going to, or you are Kenyan, you are going to do a stupid things towards another black. Oh, we are all black people. Like, come fight a white person, beat the. Should I stand with you? No. I agree. We can stand as a unit as long as we have a very good purpose goal on how we can be able to be better. And again, your purpose on this world is to help all people on this world. So if you leave a white person, I mean, is on accident, got accident, hit by the car, laying down bleeding there because it's not a black person, that is wrong. It doesn't matter. I'm going to help my neighbor because he's black. You need to help any person. But yes, you have to be as a unit when it is good things to share. But if it's a bad thing, I don't support you because you're just a black person. Just like I'm not going to buy on anything because it's a black-only restaurant. If you have bad service, should I buy something of low quality just because it's produced by a black person? No. I'm going high quality. This is capitalism. I'm sorry. Like, should I get into the plane, even if with the poor? I've been to Ethiopian airline. It is the worst service I've ever experienced in my entire life on flying 4 times a year international. I will never be in that plane again. Like, really? Just because it's African owned? No. I'm going with Delta, KLM, United, Swiss Air, thank you, or Emirates, or going to my friends of Turkish or Qatar Airways. High class, just enjoy. I'm looking for the quality.
Okay.
Africa, they let me down. Like airline, man, no.
Oh man, interesting. So XP says if the goal is to rise in power, studying the Chinese recovery from the opium wars into how they are today is a perfect example.
That's right.
But you know what? I do agree with you for the other part that you talked about. I mean, Africans, you can't keep blaming everyone. It's up to us, definitely, as individuals, because no one is coming here to save Africa. And just like you said earlier, African Americans shouldn't come and be like, oh, I'm going to save the continent, I'm going to do this. Like, just be like, okay, let's go and work together, and build something together and set up a factory and create employment, and try to engage young people, so yeah. So Mr. EBM, tell us about your YouTube channel as we try to conclude the stream and what kind of things that you do there.
Yeah, so my YouTube channel covers a lot of things, but overall put it into education part. Number one, I talk to people because it's a dream of many people to go to different countries, whether within Africa or go to Latin America, Asia, and all other countries to go. But it's supposed to, I give some information on how to go to those countries, but how can you be a better citizen of that particular country? Because sometimes you might go there and do smaller unnecessary things and be deported and lose everything. So it's come here and not come here and wash dishes for the rest of your life. Start washing dishes, go up. These are the steps. This is a credit card. This is how you buy a house. This is how you start a business, how you can go up. That is what I'm doing on that particular part. But also, for those people who are looking for education opportunities, I came through education myself, so I give guidelines on how to apply for scholarships, whether to be in America, Canada, Europe. That is another way. But also, there are some people who have dreams of writing books, or they do not know they have a talent of writing books. So there is self-publishing companies, Amazon, Lulu, Barnes and Nobles. It is very easy to put your book, to write and upload your books there. Myself, I have 11 books so far, like here, and I don't pay anybody to put my books on Amazon. So even if someone doesn't buy, but you have accomplished something, so instead of arguing with so many people about Africa, the same arguments, I put them in writing and I put it there, whether someone buys or someone doesn't buy, but I decided to put something as a way of changing on one or another. So those are some few things I usually put there, but some other things is just like, you want to go to the visa interview, you want to go to the job interview. What should you wear? How should you appear into the same type of question? How do you put your resume? Should you put your tribe, religion, all those crazy stuff? All those kind of things are not valid in this current phenomena, whether you are in America, whether you are in Africa, whether you are in Latin America, Asia, it doesn't matter. So those are the things I usually try to explain to people. Just overall educative way, and to be positive, to be able to succeed in other way.
Wow. Okay. So, Mr. Truth, what's your parting shot as you try to close the stream?
Well, I would just like to say that I like to hear EBM talk, like the way he think, and the thing about America that you got to stay positive and you got to be your own best cheerleader, because if you have any doubt or start thinking negative, start looking at the negative in America, America will tear you apart. So the best thing I try to tell people is just stay positive and don't focus so much on the negative, but focus on the positive and just do you. And that's the main thing.
Okay, I do agree. So I like this comment from Frederick. He says Africans need the strength that African Americans have developed by being immersed in a white society. I truly believe that you guys are tougher, actually. You can take way too much, because it's like living in America is like living on the edge, That's what I've come to understand from, the interactions. It's like living on the edge. Your antennas are like always, ready. Yeah, so, and then it says, African Americans need the strong spirit of our African brothers and sisters together. And then Andre says Africa is home, though I don't get it twisted. Yes, Africa is home, so. Dalton asks, what state are you in? I don't know if he's asking you guys. You can also say where states you are in. And then we'll conclude the chat.
For me, I'm in Missouri.
Missouri, okay.
Yeah, for me, I'm in Atlanta right now, Atlanta, Georgia.
Yes, Atlanta. Nigel says USA is most highly developed war zone on the planet.
Jay-Z had a very perfect song, The Empire State of Mind, that it's a jungle So you have a choice to make. You want to be a gazelle, you want to be a lion. The choice is yours. If you want to be a gazelle, capitalism will eat you. If you want to be the lion, be the big five, go build your credit, get good credentials, find the right people. Don't hang out with the bad people who can get in prison. Don't use the drugs. Don't abuse the children. There are principles on how you can go to perform and be among the top 5 animals in the jungle.
Okay, so okay, I keep getting, so someone is asking how to get your WhatsApp. If they go to your channel, can they find it on your channel?
On my channel, there is what we call
your email.
I can put my email.
Okay.
Put my
you can type your email in the comments and they'll be able to see it. They're asking, EBM, do you congregate with any Black Americans in Missouri?
I don't live in St. Louis. I live in Kansas City, and I haven't been living here for a longer time. I used to be in West Virginia for 1 year, then 7-8 years in California, and then I came here and I live in Missouri in Kansas City. So I have friends who are Black, but St. Louis is more, so many people here in St. Louis than in Kansas City.
Okay, I think it was a very interesting chat.
Yeah.
EBM, thank you so much for joining us today.
Mr. Truth and Ray, thank you so much. I really appreciate everyone.
Yeah, and Mr. Truth, thank you so much for always being here to support the channel.
Oh, there is someone who wants to ask you the last question. Wait, what?
How to with you with Susie? Susie, hi, you're late for the stream. We are concluding. How are you? Do you have a question before we go? Nichelle says Kansas City has a large Black American population.
St. Louis is more than Kansas City. St. Louis is out. Yeah. But yes, they are.
Okay, SP is saying as making very funny facial expressions. I'll try to watch the playback. As probably very, is it called marveled at EBM's, ideas, because they are totally different from what I hear from other people. So I think like, wow, wait, what?
Do you think Obama could think the way of, because I'm Black, I'm just minor, I'll not even be a president. He could be selling some tomatoes somewhere, maybe.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining the stream. Thank you so much, guys, who are in the live chat, and the comment section. If you've not subscribed, then make sure you do subscribe. We're trying to make 10,000 subscribers, so make sure you do subscribe. Make sure you do give the stream a like. And if you've come a little bit late, then I would advise you to just play back and see. We had a very, very interesting conversation with EBM, and then Mr. Truth joined us later. Thank you so much, all guys. I'm going to wish you a good night. It's a good morning here, and we shall talk soon.
Thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate it, and goodbye.
Okay. Bye.